Welcome to Conscious Coupling, where Frederic and Christy Whitman share their experiences of creating a conscious, connected relationship. Every week, they give practical tools, steps, and processes to help you find the loving connection with your partner. Let's get into today's conversation with Frederic and Christy.
Hello, welcome to the Conscious Connected Coupling podcast with Frederic and Christy Whitman.
With Christy Whitman and Frederic Gobet.
First and foremost, I want to say that it's always important to celebrate wins along the way. And we just found out that this podcast has been in the last 90 days downloaded 20,000 times. So that's awesome. It says to us that you guys are listening, that you're caring, that you're enjoying it, and you're wanting more. So we're grateful. I'm grateful for that,
yes,
for sure.
Thank you for all of you who are downloading the show, and thank you for your connecting
support
with us and being with us and supporting us. Definitely.
Absolutely. And if you ever have a comment or have questions or have something spark where you're like, I'd love for them to talk about this subject, you can go to christywhitman.com, and under the Conscious Connected Coupling podcast, you'll see the shows, the video shows, the actual sound of the podcast, and then you'll see the written information. And at the bottom, you can make a comment and put in, a show that you have in mind. One of the shows that we're going to be doing really is based on someone asking, hey, could you talk to us about law of attraction and relationships? So that's what actually we're talking about today. So because of that, we are able to be flexible. As a matter of fact, we are in kind of a new scenario. If you see us, we're on a couch. And that was because Karen Peters, who's in my Quantum Success Coaching Academy, she had made a comment that, a couch should be more cozier. So here we are. So thank you, Karen, for that comment. So here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, so thank you so much. And one more thing I want to say before we get into the subject is that, Frederic and I are not necessarily right or wrong. This is just information that we learned, we apply, we live our lives by, and it works for us.
It's our experiences.
It's our experience. So we had someone that made a comment about one of the shows about boundaries and disagreed and felt that it's not being a boundary. I'm basically using my mother, and that's okay. Everybody has their own perspective, and we certainly appreciate and can respect other people's perspective. We're not here to argue with anybody or debate with anybody what's right or wrong, but this is what works for us. And so we want to share that, and that's the whole entire purpose of this podcast, is that we found the formula that works for us, which we hadn't before. We struggled, and so all this information that we're sharing really is to help each one of you. And the people that have felt aligned with it and felt resonance with it, their relationships are changing too. So if you don't feel like it's for you, thank you for listening, and we wish you well. Hope you find the information. But for those of you that do feel aligned, we really appreciate you being here, and we're here to give you more today.
We are here to support you guys.
Absolutely.
So, again, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about giving someone their support, someone the experience basically that we've had. What we're sharing is exactly that, and we're basically real life of what happens when you change from a not necessarily a unaware style of coupling to a more of a conscious and aware type of relationship.
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk about and we will for the next couple episodes, some of the universal laws. I talk about that there are 7 essential laws to really being able to be masterful of your life, and that includes the area of relationships. Now, I will say this, that the divine plan for our lives are in 4 different quadrants. One of them is having loving and supportive relationships. And I should say, there are universal laws that we must adhere to be able to create loving and supportive relationships and be able to really utilize relationships for what they're for. So law of attraction, just to give a review on that, I always like to think of law of attraction as like a boomerang. What you send out is going to come back to you, right? So when you are thinking thoughts that my my partner's a jerk, right? That's an energy that goes out, or my partner never gives what I need, or my partner is critical, or how come I'm not enough, or any of those thoughts. When you're sending out those thoughts, your thoughts they're not independent of each other. Your thoughts create emotional response. The emotions then create more of a thought process. So they're working together and it creates a vibration. That vibration goes out into the universe, and then it is matched by this thing called law of attraction that is meeting up with the resonance of what your vibration is that you're giving out. So think of yourself as like an energy tower where you're sending out signals all day, every day by the things you believe, the things you say, the things that you think, the feelings that you have, and whatever subject you're having about those negative vibrations or positive vibrations will be reflected back to you. So in the aspect of your relationship, if I'm having negative thoughts about my partner, what's going to happen is those negative thoughts are going to be reflected. So we want to have this discussion today based on that law of attraction is really like a mirror in your relationship. And there's two facets of that we want to talk about. So in understanding one of the universal rules of relationship is that whatever you're feeling that you're either missing or that you're receiving from your partner, it's like a mirror. So we have to look at if you're feeling you're missing something, right? And you're wanting something from your partner, maybe you're wanting more time and you feel lonely. That's not something that we have to try to get from our partner. You're coming from a place of not enoughness, which we're going to talk about that in the next couple episodes of the law of sufficiency and abundance. But if you're feeling lonely, it's up to you to fulfill yourself with the essence, or another way of saying is the feeling that you do want to experience. So instead of feeling lonely, what do you want to experience? Do you want to feel connected? Do you want to feel fulfilled? What is it that you're wanting to experience? Because as we're looking to our partner to be the one, our source, to give it to us, we then get disappointed, and then we look at him as, well, he's not doing it. He's never satisfying me. He's not enough. How come he doesn't love me enough, right? We push the blame on the person instead of realizing that the emotions that we're having inside of ourselves are ours. You want to say something about that?
Right. Well, unconsciously, we do choose partners that tend to have the traits that we're looking for. Those traits, like for example, we're looking for to be more creative ourselves. So we'll align with a partner that is much more creative, and that'll be kind of our self-expression. And that's where we come into the relationship where there's fusion that happens, is that all of a sudden you lose your own identity, and instead of creating yourself that sense of purpose, that sense of the creativeness that you want in your life, or even just in the areas that you want to have better traits, you look within yourself and you work at getting those traits, working at getting inspired from that place instead of looking at your partner to be inspired from them, from what they have.
So the point of all that is that you don't want to look to your partner to be your source of what you're looking to experience in your own life. But the other thing is that we want to understand that people, especially those that are in an intimate couple, people mirror whatever drama is going on within inside of them. So other people's behavior, for example, towards you reflects something that's going on inside of yourself. So if you look at your relationship based on law of attraction, based as a reflection, based as a mirror, that maybe you're wanting to change something in the relationship or whatever, maybe that your partner's being really critical of you, it's important to look at yourself and say, where am I being critical of myself? Where am I beating myself up? If I feel like my partner is critical of me, where am I doing that in myself? And as your partner, if the partner is being critical of you, it means your partner is also being critical of himself. We had this happen the other day where I felt like Frederic was a little on edge, and that doesn't happen too often, but I felt like he was being a little bit kind of on the kids, and I was like, whoa, what's up, you know? And then 2 minutes later, he was kind of on me, and I go, you know, I like when you're really connected to your heart. And that kind of was a, you know, you can speak to that, but he came back to his heart. And I can tell when he's being really critical of himself or beating himself up, because it's reflected in the way that he is with everybody around us. And the same is true with me too. So law of attraction is really a mirror. And if you're having some kind of reaction to your partner, that's your reaction, that's your emotions, that's what's going on inside of you, and that's important to pay attention to become conscious, to be aware, to understand, to know, so that you can then shift it and then create a different outcome.
So back to that story, you're right with the way we were communicating. I was not connected to myself, and I was getting irritated by what the boys were doing, and
what the dog was doing, everything was irritating you.
And all of a sudden, yes, you came up to me and you kindly and lovingly said to me about not being connected, and that was awesome. That's a really a good way of us seeing and showing that we've done our growth, we've had a lot of experience doing this, and I don't want to say we avoided a conflict, but it didn't come out as a conflict.
It didn't come out.
It could have came out. Now, why are you acting like this with me?
Yeah.
And then it becomes a conflict. So that's the difference between, again, being aware of certain situations, and we become aware of each one of us, each of our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings. And then we can kind of communicate that to the other person. We can communicate to the other person in a loving way. Hey, you know what? I think that there's a place where you're not being too connected, or is there some anger that's going on inside? And then I can come up to her and say, you know what? I've got a little bit of anger inside. I'm a little bit thrown off right now, and I was thrown off. There was some impatience that I reacted, from, and it came from some place. I had to, look within, see what was going on, and kind of take care of myself.
So when you understand that law of attraction is at play here, and everything is a mere reflection, it's either being outer reflected. So in this case, with Frederic feeling off, I mean, we're all human, right? So we all have those moments. And for me to just not take it personally, because if I, in the good old days, right, or people in most of their couples, if they take something like that personally, right? Why are you being so critical of the kids? Why are you being critical of me? What? And then the person feels insecure, and it's like, I'm not enough. He doesn't love me anymore. All the insecurities start coming up. Because I know, and felt very connected to myself, and I know who I am, and I know that he loves me, and I know we're on the same team, watching his behavior, not only with the dog, but with both of the boys, and then with me, I then understand what his behavior is doing is reflective of what's going on inside of him. So if he's agitated or impatient or being critical, it means that he's doing that to himself. And coming from that place of compassion, I was able to say to him, not, hey, you're angry, or what's wrong with you, or hey, get your crap together. It wasn't like that. It was more of like, I love when you're really connected to your heart. I love when we have that connection. And it softened him because he was needing something, obviously, to a reminder to get out of whatever was spiraling in his head, right?
Because I was in my head, definitely. And instead of adding fuel to the fire, it just brought me back to, in my heart.
Yes.
So, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad we can do that for each other, because we do that for each other.
Yes.
We do. So your relationship, it works both ways, right? So if you're looking at your partner and you're noticing something's off with your partner, it's not an opportunity for you to take it personally. It's an opportunity to realize you're two separate people having two different emotions, because he's experiencing what he's experiencing I don't have to make it about me. And I could just look at him going, wow, he must have something going on with him. He must be stuck in his thought process, or maybe he's beating himself up, or he's being critical of himself, or he's impatient with himself. Whatever he is going on within him is being reflected outside. And as the same is true is that when I am feeling like I'm getting criticism from him, I can also look within myself and say, okay, why am I attracting that? Am I being critical of myself? So you want to ask yourself, in your relationship, if you're seeing something in your partnership that you want to have changed, the thing is, the only person you can actually change, and that's one of the universal rules of relationship, is you cannot change your partner, you can only change yourself. So you want to ask yourself, how is my partner treating me, and mirroring how I'm treating myself? How is the attitude or behavior that I want my partner to correct something I need to transform within myself? And when you ask yourself that question, it allows you to connect more with yourself and look at, okay, is that person being critical? Is that person being judgmental? Is that person being impatient? Are they pulling away? What is the behavior? And then what can I do to take care of myself? Maybe I'm pulling away from myself. Maybe I'm not as connected to my divine self. Maybe I'm being really critical or beating myself up. So what's going on within me that would be attracting this from my partner?
Yeah, what are the beliefs that I'm connected with that are more negative? What are the emotions that I'm feeling that maybe are anger, or giving sadness, or look into all these thoughts and these feelings. Why are they creating these types of emotion and senses inside, so that you could be aware, and then you can work into having more of a positive beliefs, positive emotions, slowly create more of a positive aspect in your life.
Right. How can you treat yourself differently?
Lovingly.
So, lovingly, yes. What's the most lovingly thing you can do or say or be for yourself? And one of the things that we do, and we have a different program coming up, we have something you can go right now on ChristyWhitman.com under the conscious coupling. We have a 30-day meditation where you can create loving relationship with your partner. We have another online course coming up, and of course we do our couples coaching together. And so you can go to connectedcoupling.com, fill out the form if you're wanting more of that help to be able to see, because a lot of times, and what I love about coaching is that you're in your own tunnel vision. Even when you're in your own relationship, it's hard to see past. And when you have a coach that can kind of see and has been trained in universal laws, especially law of attraction, you can then, that coach can then help you see from a different perspective and catch things that you may not be able to catch, and catch things that you're not doing in a couple that you're not being able to see. So here's the action steps for this week. The takeaways that we want you to have is really look at, what is the feeling? What is the essence that you really want to experience in your relationship? Think about the essence rather than the form. So instead of like, I want him to bring me flowers, or I want him or I want her to make me a lovely dinner. What's the bottom line feeling that you want to feel in your couple? Is it connected? Is it loved? Is it fulfilled? Is it satisfied? What is that essence energy? And that's something that, from a law of attraction perspective, when you start to cultivate that feeling in yourself, everything will then start to reflect it. Law of attraction is the law of reflection, or another way of saying it's a boomerang. What you're giving out, you're exuding out in your feelings, you're gonna get back. So if you're feeling satisfied, you're gonna get more things that satisfy you. So start with that quality, start feeling with that what you want inside of yourself. You're the only one that can change anybody. The only one you can change is yourself, and all of your relationships will change when you start to shift the vibration inside of yourself. Focus in your relationship truly on what you want instead of what you don't want. This is another thing that's really important in a relationship, in any aspect of life, is don't focus on what you don't want, but truly focus on what you do want. So if you notice a behavior, like I was noticing the other day, I'm like, I don't want that, he's being this or that, it doesn't feel good. It felt a little like, wow, so it's like, well, what do I want? I want him back in his heart, because he's so beautiful in his heart, and he's so loving, and I feel so connected when I'm in my heart. So that's when I was saying to him, not not from I want you back in your heart, you're not there, you're missing something, and coming from lack. I just exemplified to him and shared with him what I do appreciate. I love when you're connected to your heart. And that was all it needed, to say to bring him back into his heart, for him to go, oh, I've been in my head. And,
Yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of thinking, okay, I'm a little bit too much in my head. And as an example about focusing on what you want rather than what you don't want, sometimes your partner comes up with an idea of either a weekend out or going out at a restaurant or buying something for the family. And instead of seeing it as, and sometimes I tend to do that, instead of seeing it where we kind of feel like, oh, well, maybe that's too much money, and we is it really in our budget? So when we do that, what happens
Wait,
is...
say because I don't do that. I'm clearly like, woo, let's play.
we kind of put aside the idea. The idea becomes all of a sudden smashed in the ground. That's how it feels for her.
For me. And I'm like, Lou, let's go play. And he's like, oh, what's the budget on that? I'm like,
and I'm focused now. What happens is now I'm focused on what I don't want versus being focused on, yeah, that would be cool to have. It's a good idea to have, a new car, whatever, a new refrigerator, or look at a new vacation for next year where we want to go. So that's the point. Focus on what we want rather than what we don't want, and not look into the many excuses that we could make.
Absolutely.
To not have that, or to not be part of that idea.
So one of the tools that you can use is affirmations or mantras, and you can just tell yourself, I now have satisfaction in my relationship. I now have connectedness in my relationship. Tell yourself that, because thoughts and feelings do go together. As you start to focus on what you do want and what you do have, you will start to feel the fulfillment of that, and they will start to build on each other, creating a vibrational difference, which will then have law of attraction kick in and give you that reflection back into your relationship. I do want to say this one thing, because it's just a really significant story. I remember when the boys were like 2 and 3, and so this isn't just even in our relationship, in an intimate relationship. It's all relationships, and we're in relationship with everything. I remember I just got done teaching a class, and I went upstairs, and my boys were 2 and 3 at the time, and they were with their nanny. And neither one of them, I was so excited to go see them and cuddle them and hold them, and neither one of them would come to me. And I just felt crushed, because they just wanted to be with the nanny, because they were in the middle of playing a game and they were giggling and everything. So me coming in there kind of interrupted it, right? And I wanted to hold them and hug them and talk to them, and they weren't having it. And that brought up in me such a place of insignificance. Like, I'm so insignificant. That was a story I had. That was a feeling that was dormant inside of me, but also active at the same time, or else I wouldn't have attracted it. And so I remember just feeling, I just felt so depressed, like, oh my God, my own kids, I'm insignificant to them. And I really felt really sad and really down. And really what I know to be true is that I have this emotion that's going on inside of me. And I truly felt like, oh my God, what am I even here for? I mean, I think for the first time ever in my life, got to really understand the pain that my sister was going through when she decided to end her life. Because I was in that place of, I'm so insignificant that my kids don't even want to come see me. I'm so insignificant to the people I'm supposed to be most significant to. And I just found that energy place inside of me. Plus, thank God for healers and coaches and mentors myself, was able to talk with a wonderful man named Ken Stone, and he helped reflect to me that I am significant. But he held the space for me so that I could go into that place inside of me that felt that I wasn't significant, that I really felt, that part of me that felt insignificant, and allow myself to shift that energy from inside. And never again have I had that feeling, because I really got to a core issue. But when you look at life like this, instead of just going, oh, my kids don't love me anymore, and then creating a pity party or being a victim or anything like that, I was able to say, okay, clearly I'm attracting this situation from my kids in this moment. What is bringing up in me is I feel sad. I feel so insignificant. I feel so powerless. I feel literally was probably one of the worst emotions I'd ever felt. And to be able to find that from an energetic perspective, and then to shift that, and then to shift into different language around that, and that I am significant, and my boys love me, and I am a good person, and I have a significant reason for being here. I shifted out of that. But relationships really are a gift in that way, because they do show you what's going on inside of yourself. And if you take responsibility for that, shift the thoughts, shift the emotions, command what you do want to happen, focus on what you do want, say, I am significant, I have whatever it is, I have the relationship that I want, you will see your outer reality will be reflected in a very, very different way, because the law of attraction, no matter who you are, no matter if you're a man or a woman, no matter what, if you're married or not, if you're in a couple or not, law of attraction is always working whether we want it to or not. But we need to become aware of it, because it is like gravity. You know, I'm not having to sit here in this chair, and if I don't think about gravity, I'm going to float into outer space. Gravity is just working whether I'm thinking about it or not. So are all the universal laws, and we're going to be going through some of them so that you can understand these laws, how it applies into your relationship.
Doing the growth, that's doing the work, actually, is what it is. We all have these things in our heads, right, that we go through, and just like what you were feeling when you're feeling that you were insignificant, all of a sudden you were kind of saying things to yourself.
Oh,
and
grows on each other.
Negative talking. We all have those types of talking in our heads, and then those feelings that come up, and basically, it doesn't take much to kind of
derail us.
To derail and to just ask for help and get someone to kind of guide you in that way where you can realize where it's coming from, and then change that energy, change that feeling. So we invite you to fill up our form at Conscious Connected Coupling is our podcast.
Okay, so connectedcoupling.com. And next week we are going to be talking about, so what if you believe in law of attraction and your partner doesn't? How do you do that? How do you navigate that? That's our next episode. So for this week, have an amazing one. Really start looking at all your relationships as a reflection, because the cool thing is it can't change anyone but yourself. But when you change yourself, you change your world.
Enjoy your week.
Thanks for listening to Conscious Coupling with Frederic Gobet and Christy Whitman. If you like our show and want to know more, check out ChristyWhitman.com. And please leave us a review on iTunes. Learn how to turn your partner into your soulmate. Join us again next week for another powerful episode.